Congress and a 2016 presidential candidate. Tonight on SCOM 425, we are going to be talking about the one and the only Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, the son of Jewish immigrants and the very definition of working class, cites his experience growing up in economic disparity as the foundation of his political career. He began in grassroots, being elected mayor of Burlington with the help of Progressive Coalition in 1980. He then continued to be elected in the position 3 more times. Bernie Sanders made an unlikely candidate for national office, but this political underdog scored a 1990 win for the seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, also being re-elected 7 times. In the process, he defeated candidates well known for big spending on their campaigns and personal lives, and beat them seemingly against the odds. Bernie Sanders' track record appears to speak for itself, a leader who has not wavered from his beliefs from day one. Is this how the underdog, who swore he would not run for office as it would likely be futile and losing campaign, is running for president in 2016? When announcing his candidacy, he stated that this campaign is not about Bernie Sanders, not about me, and has repeated it ever since. Bernie Sanders' commitment to his ideological beliefs throughout his career and through his public persona embodies his own brand of moral leadership. Now more on that.
Hi, I'm here with Bernie Sanders expert Katie, and she's going to answer a few questions about why voters should vote for Bernie Sanders. So Katie, why should voters vote for Bernie Sanders in the next upcoming election?
Well, I think that Bernie Sanders comes across as a very authentic and moral leader, which is a bit different from others who have been positioned in a different light this coming candidacy. He has been pretty outspoken on a lot of social issues. For example, the civil rights issues that are coming up now, like with the Black Lives Matter protesters. They actually came and interrupted one of his speeches, and he was criticized for that and not responding to them and being a bit dismissive. But then when he was questioned in the media, he brought up, I've always been an advocate for civil rights throughout his college years and in a lot of his time in the Senate when he voted for a lot of legislation that was pro-civil rights and like human rights in general. So I think in a lot of ways he stands true to what he believes through his actions and has been pretty consistent, as opposed to some people that we've seen who've been a little flip-floppy on some of the issues.
Great answer, Katie. All right. So everyone knows that Bernie Sanders is usually run as an independent candidate. Now that he is a Democratic candidate, do you think he might be a little too liberal to be a part of the Democratic platform?
That's a good question, because he has been pretty heavily criticized, or not criticized, but looked at in a light. He's just too liberal to be running seriously in the presidency, which is why Hillary Clinton has gotten a lot of support and outward support. So he is pretty liberal in a lot of stances. For example, he believes that environmental or climate change is the biggest issue that we have coming up, is a threat to our national security, as opposed to a lot of more conservative candidates who differ and think like issues such as ISIS, which are more commonly regarded as pressing issues, are the number one thing to focus on. So in that way, he's always going to be a polarizing candidate. He has never been moderate, to be honest. He's always been a little more on the left. But even in his home state of Vermont, he was actually unsuccessful in his first couple of bids for office because he did run with a more fringe party. And after dropping that party and running on his own merit, he did manage to get a lot of Republican. He still gets 25% or so of the Republican vote in his home state of Vermont. So he does have he might have a little wiggle room, because he does have some policies that, even though they might be a little more come across as like he declares himself as a socialist, there are some policies aside from things like gay rights and more social issues that Republicans can stand with him on. So I do think he has a chance, even though he does have a lot of very liberal views.
25% of the Republican vote in his own state. Those are great leadership skills right there. Back to you.
Bernie Sanders has a transformational leadership style determined by Kendra Cherry's article, Leadership Style and About Health, which was published in December of 2015. A transformational leader has the ability to motivate and inspire their followers and make change within a group. This can be seen through Sanders' nickname, the Amendment King, because he got more amendments passed than any other member of Congress in his time in office. A transformational leader is also very passionate. Sanders shows these qualities through the fact that he's never changed his views or politics. He turned Burlington into one of America's most livable, smallest cities. He showed this by his huge strides towards affordable housing, progressive taxation, environmental protection, childcare, women's rights, youth programs, and the arts. Emotional intelligence is the last aspect of a transformational leader. Daniel Goleman defines emotional intelligence as having self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and social skills. He mentions this in the article, What Makes a Leader? Sanders shows self-regulation through his slow move up the ladder in government. He did not try to run for president right off the bat with no experience. And he also shows self-awareness in his current campaign by saying that his campaign isn't about himself, but it's about the people.
Bernie's career is certainly something to learn from, as his successes as an independent underdog leader have proven that he is one of the good guys. He is not afraid to go against the grain and pursue his commitments in the face of opposition. For instance, Bernie rejects the media tendency to focus on the personality of candidates and other tabloid news, to the point that his media persona has become just that, someone who does not stray from the issues at hand. This is an interesting development, although certainly not conceptually unique, as it is often tossed around in Republican and Democratic debates alike. Candidates are typically praised for their tendency to stick to the issues and avoid controversy. However, there has been no candidate that embodies this stick-to-the-issue stance quite so steadfastly. In response, there has been very little scrutiny to Bernie Sanders' character, and he has avoided major tabloid controversy. In 1996, Sanders went up against Susan Sweetser in Congress for re-election, and Sweetser hired a private investigator who spoke with his previous and current wife, considered a regular practice in many other states. Sanders called an immediate press conference to denounce this practice, stating it encourages people not to participate in the political process, not to vote, and certainly not to run for public office. He won the election and several others, emerging as an ethical and issue-focused candidate. His focus on transparency, also illustrated in his donor base, is an important ethical commitment that sets a precedent in modern politics. There is no question that Sanders has confidence in his convictions and, in turn, stayed true to his brand and his constituents. And now Gary is going to wrap it up.
As Lindsay just mentioned previously, Bernie's career is certainly something to learn from, as his successes as an independent underdog have proven that he is one of the good guys. And he's not afraid to go against the grain and pursue his commitments in the face of opposition. So right now we've given you background on Bernie Sanders' life and career, his leadership behaviors, his leadership styles, and leadership lessons that everyone can learn from researching him. But we feel like the best may yet be to come. As Bernie Sanders' numbers grow tremendously in the Democratic primary polls, his leadership attributes will only grow as well. His presidential candidacy alone is solidifying him as a true leader that history will always remember. According to the article, leadership is necessarily a group process. You cannot lead if you don't have any followers. All you have to do is type Bernie Sanders' name on any sort of social media, and it will be clearly evident that he has millions of people who believe he truly has what it takes to be the next president of the United States. Throughout his campaign, he has not been afraid to express his opinions about other candidates from both political parties, and has stressed over and over again why America needs him more than ever. He is a true American and loves this country more than anything else, which makes him very passionate in his leadership goals and accomplishments for this great nation. Even if you don't agree with his policies or beliefs, we strongly urge you to read up on him a little bit, as any capable leader can truly learn something from his life experiences. Once you have done this, we truly believe that you will feel the burn.
Thanks for wrapping that up for us, Gary. That was all we have for you tonight. I'm Rachel Phillips. This is SCOM 425, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.